Vinland Saga? More like overrated saga. Okay. Before I start going off rails, let's talk about the anime of the year for 2019. There's many choices, out of which they are non-Vinland Saga, because Vinland Saga is not good. Even Pokemon managed to animate some scenes better than Vinland Saga. Like, look at that shit. The opening is literally the binds of spin. And the depth of the show is that of a swimming pool for toddlers in your backyard, which you should totally remove from them because the police is coming. Oh fuck. Oh, they're here. So Vinland Saga is one of those shows that you watch and you're like, yeah, this is great, and then people praise it for all the wrong reasons on those scenes that you personally got bothered because it was very stupid, and you're like, okay, I'll give this a chance. But still, because of that taint that other people have given you, you start to notice more and more flaws piling over, and essentially you end up thinking that the show isn't as good as everybody else thinks. And that's what happened to me with Vinland Saga. But of course I can say this just like randomly. I need to like explain some fucking shit. I need to be like, hey, this is why. So here I'll go. I'm gonna do an anime list kind of review, and I'm gonna go by every aspect of the show that I liked or disliked and tell you how good it is, one by one. Except I'm gonna try to not do like everything specifically. I'm not gonna talk specifically about Toms because that's stupid. Story, yeah, the meat and bone of writing a script, you know, having a story. And this one starts with a lot of premise. A retired 8-year Viking called Thors tries to have a normal life after so much killing because he was the redemption. He has a child, then he gets murdered with the child on the place where he gets murdered, and then the child, who's named Thorfinn, wants to have revenge on the person who killed his father. It's pretty typical, but it's enough to get you invested. The next thing you see is the child grow up with the Vikings, learning stuff, and then he kills people. And after that, he has the most boring personality you can give to any anime character, worst of your protagonist. Angsty teenager who screams. That's it. Angsty teenager who screams. It's all that. So yeah, the show takes place in the era of Vikings, and although the important focus in the manga is about a place called Vinland, in this one you only see people talk about it as a myth, and you know, that's for the after the part that this anime covers, the one I'm reviewing, the 2019 one. As for the rest of it, it's supposed to be realistic, and there are even events that happen and characters that are in the show that are inspired by real people, like, for example, Prince Canute. He's a very important character, but he's there. Keep that in mind. And after that, you see Thorfinn trying to whoop some ass with a dagger, and then he gets pretty good, and although it takes like 20 episodes to get there, eventually the bigger villain is the King of Norway, who is a bitch with a ugly face. Anyhow, spoiler warning, yes, I'm gonna be talking spoilers on the show, so for a non-spoiler review, I'm just gonna say, if you like Vikings, if you like stories that are like historical and semi-realistic, then give this a shot. It's not a bad show by any means, in fact it gets an 8. Now why it gets an 8? That involves me talking about spoilers, because I analyze the way they develop characters and the way they write the scenarios, so that's a whole other deal that I'm not gonna talk about if you guys don't want spoilers, but just know, the characters may not be polished, but the scenarios are really good. And I seriously recommend you watch it if you're interested. Art! One of the most important parts about anime, and personally the one I love the most. Animation. You want it, you need it, and you are not a PowerPoint presentation. That's a thing, Shokugeki no Soma. Stop being a PowerPoint presentation. So in comes Vinland Saga, a genuinely good series with good ideas and stuff, and they did the animation. So yeah, the first time I saw this scene I was like, wow, this is great, and then I watched it again. That's when I noticed I'm very dizzy, and it also noticed that CGI is combined with 2D animation, and it looks horrendous because it's done somehow wrong. I mean, sometimes they even forget the shadows down the character's feet. I mean, yeah, at first it's very cool, but then you think it's not. And I already said I was gonna start spoilers, but I'll continue going with it. I noticed that the anime has really good fights. Every time I was like, yeah, I don't feel it, I don't want to watch this anymore, came in a fight scene that was so great. Around episode 12, there's this one fight scene with Thorfinn versus Thorkel, and it's awesome. You look at it and you're like, wow, yeah, this is actually great. I want more of this. And then there's not more of it. So yeah, I mean, it's great on its own, but if you compare it to the animation that Demon Slayer, Mob Psycho, animes that came out this year show off, it's not really as great. Yeah, sure, it doesn't have many stills, which is good, but at the same time, it doesn't justify people calling it the best thing just because it uses some sort of like 3 scenes or 4 scenes that are good. Okay, there is something I cannot complain about though here, and it's the environments. They just look plain stunning at times. Like, sometimes I would be sitting on this show and I was like, I wish I could just remove the characters and not look at them. I wish I could just look at the backgrounds, because they're so fucking good. Wow. It's great animation. Sure, it may not be perfect. And after 12 episodes, it just keeps getting worse. Characters. The show has many. Yeah, we got Thors, the badass warrior. Father of Thorfinn, who is an angsty teenager who centers on killing the guy who killed his dad, who is called Askeladd, the leader of a Viking crew. Then there's the Prince Canute, a pussy, for like half of the show. Then there's Bjorn, or better pronounced as the show does it, Bjorn! Some filler priests there's too, and there's a conhead dude, and a bunch of Vikings that you don't care about. And finally, Thorkel, funny dude that has borderline superpowers in a realistic world. So I'm gonna list them off by best to worst, just so you know like what my thoughts are on each character, and so I can explain the flaws in each one correctly, you know, without messing up. Askeladd, the best character of the show. In fact, I think he's the protagonist because you spend more time with Askeladd than with Thorfinn after like the halfway point of the show, which is a serious mistake because you're like giving backseat to your protagonist. And okay. His personality, very cold, very calculated, and it's completely inspired by, you know, having him think and have his monologues be very important. For example, it is shown multiple times that he may make bad ethical choices and kill a lot of people if he's gonna get his goal. But then you see his backstory. He had a dad, he killed his dad, and then the mother, she was a slave, and then she told him, hey, there's this person who's very brave warrior and they're gonna go to Vinland. And he's like, oh my god, I believe it. For no reason. And he acknowledges it in the show. Askeladd in the show is like, yeah, I have no reason, I just know it, I just know it. And that's it. That's all of his character. He proceeds to say a bunch of cool quotes and some stupid shit because he's so cool and calculated. I mean, just like Shadow the Hedgehog, but since he was not made by Sega, well, he gets a pass. What I think is great about Askeladd is that he ignites most of the situation, which are amazingly well written, and I'll talk about those in a little bit when I talk about the positive sides, because I'm gonna shit on this a lot more. Oh boy. Canute. That's the other highlight character, because he actually has fucking development. He has well-built motivations as well as, you know, turning him from a fucking pussy to a pretty terrifying character. The problem, he does this in like 3 milliseconds. Like, there's this moment, it's like, I like pie, no you don't like pie, and it's like, fuck it, I'm smart now! This major growing spike is very bullshitty because it just happens after some priest just goes like, hey, this is some bullshit I know, and he's just like, okay then, and then he becomes edgy, but he forgets his mannerism, and, you know, it's very unrealistic because real people take a little bit of time to change, and this dude, I mean, it didn't even show any shaking or hesitation, and the other characters being like, hey, he just hesitated a little, that's a lot more than other people, and those, if we practice, he could become a lot better, and just, you know, just have that be like 2 sentences that I just took 20 seconds to do, and that would have fixed his character a lot more, but, you know, it's whatever. At least this dude has kind of the decency to have a reasonable arc somewhat, and, you know, since he has an arc, he's doing more than the other characters, so I'm okay with it. Let's continue with Dora the Explorer. Yeah, I know she's not on the show, but she has depth. She understands its nature and lives by it. Oh, that's just me saying that Dora is a better character than the following. Thorfinn, he wants revenge, and he wants revenge, and he wants revenge, and he wants revenge. That's very deep character. But he really doesn't like killing, although that's only seen in later parts of the manga, which are not yet adapted into anime, which is the one I'm reviewing right now. So for now, he's just an angry teenager who shows how angry he is every 2 minutes, and no one notices until the plot thinks it's convenient. And he just has a terribly executed arc to be worse than Dora. But if he were a tiny bit better, he could be better than Dora. The random priest who drinks wine and starts looking differently all of a sudden. He believes in God and is trying to find his own version of love, built by himself with his own morals and his brain, and then he proceeds to get drunk and explain some bullshit to the Belkanut in like a millisecond. And then like he says that other elements are trash, which is edgy, but you know, you already know that. Thorkill, he wants to punch, he wants to kill, but over everything he wants to have fun, and that's it. He gets passed because he's fun. He does want to become a warrior and has a couple of regrets for not staying with his brother Thors at some points, but it's like 2 minutes of a scene, so it's not really complete, and it's kind of shitty. Conehead, he's the prince good, I protect, I make promise now, not a deadlock. And then he dies in the same episode, so it's really impactful when he dies after just making a promise, and it's not predictable at all. And I'm saying this because other people have praised that scene for being like, oh, I'm so motivated by his death. No, the only good death here is another character's death, which I don't want to talk about, the king. I wrote 3 question marks on the script, and that's all I wrote, because like there's nothing interesting about this guy. The only thing he has is like a very unique looking face, and that's it. He's not interesting. He becomes interesting through the scenarios, not because of himself, because by himself, terrible character, worst character, no. Bjorn! Eat mushroom! Nom nom nom! Nom I'm crazy and strong! Here comes Bjorn! I'm joking. Thors. This guy is fucking stupid. He's head of a village with at least more than 50 people who need food, and he proceeds to trade 8 sheep for a man who's about to die because he wants redemption and because freedom good. I get it. I get that they want to show that this character had his morals very sad and he was very noble and whatnot, but he's also very fucking stupid. He would have allowed 50 plus people in the village to die to save one single guy who is already gonna die anyways. That makes no sense. Then he goes by war of order, and instead of being competent, he dies by being shot by some arrows. This guy, who is supposed to be like the greatest thing, he appears, and the first thing he does is being shown as super strong. They tell you over and over that he's stronger than Thorkill. You see Thorkill just throw a wood pike and kill 4 people, which is unrealistic, but I'll talk about that later. Maybe he's supposed to be like some role model for late Thorfinn, but he just ends up being stupid. Like, really stupid. Here's the deal. Most of the plot with Thors and Thorfinn was not in the manga, not as it is in the anime. So, you know, there's probably somebody to blame here for that. Come on then. Sound. So many people don't care about sound. How? Of course some people do. That's me. I care. And, you know, I really like the soundtrack that this anime brings, but they don't try to do anything unique with it. They get this Viking theme, which they could have used, but they don't. And that's a shame. So instead you just get a generic cinematic soundtrack, which is pretty decent for a cinematic soundtrack, but it's nothing really special. You don't remember a single song. It's just, you know it's good, and that's about it. Then there's the openings and endings. And, you know, the openings are both good, though I do prefer the second ones. It's a little bit more on time, you know? It's better well executed. And then there's the endings. The first one is very fitting, yeah, but it's also very painful to listen to. I can enjoy it. I don't know why. If you enjoy it, that's great for you, but I just don't like it. The singer, it doesn't stick for me. The singer sings bad, the melody is terrible, like, ugh. And then there's the second one, which is awesome. The second one I could download, that's my fucking jam. My fucking jam. And then people don't say it's worse. But it's better. It's way better. Why are you saying it's worse? Because you're used to the first one. That's whatever. Let's talk about the highlights, which are the voice actors. The voice actors are awesome. They do a very great job. Almost every one of them. Yeah, they don't do anything unexpected, but it's not as if doing unexpected stuff is very common. Like, the voice actors did a really great job with the script that were given. So on the topic of that script fucking sucks. The sages just had the worst fucking script to work with, because they fucking wrote characters talking with modern Japanese mannerisms. I'm gonna keep this brief, but pretty much they say stuff among the likes of moshi moshi, which is a mannerism that was born from using the phone. And I'm no fucking historian, but I don't think phones were a thing in the Vikings, you know? And that's just one example. It's filled with it all the time. Like, you could have made this a show set in a modern Japan and then in some sort of isekai, and it's the same fucking shit. This could have been an isekai because of that. They don't use their setting to their advantage. It's just kind of shit. I mean, just fuck this specific part. Philosophy. God, this is one of the important parts of the show, and they fucked it all. So, are you a wordless human being? Then fuck it all and you become a god. That's Canute's logic, but here it is. Are you a wordless human being? Then fuck it all and you'll have depression. You will suck dick for several minutes. That's Thorfinn's logic. The show has the worst time showcasing character philosophies. Some characters lose their will and get Alzheimer's. Some others lose their will and become miserable. And some others lose their will and become awesome and smart. It makes no sense. Then there's this underlying feeling that the character's actions don't have an effect on anything unless character development or the plot demands that it does. Then there's Askeladd just telling Thorfinn what's what, and like, he does this constantly. But only one time does it actually do anything, when the plot just wants it to. The main philosophy then. There's this philosophy explored that lives matter, and atonement. Now, the atonement part, we don't see much in this part, but the other part does. So we just see how countless of bodies are smashed and you just swoop past mountains and mountains of bodies. Like, yeah, they're going to Valhalla, so it's fine, and it's not. But they don't give you a single reason to feel bad. There's one time they do. One time. And this is not something you want to do when you want to get your philosophy of lives matter across. You want to show that killing someone has an effect. Yet this fucking bitch doesn't ever have effects for killing people, because unless they're important to the plot, they don't matter. And that just completely swoops over the philosophy of the show. What's next? Next on my bucket list. Come on, I'm sniping right here. I'm gonna kill everything. Everything's gonna die. Yeah, it's the fucking quality dips. Oh boy, yeah, they got worse, you know? There was 12 episodes of goodness, and then there's a quality dip. Also, almost as if they ran out of budget, you know? There's many anime that use a scene in the show for the opening, and they just get a ton of shit. But Vinland, nah, exent. That's because it's deep as fuck. It's so fucking deep. And Thorfinn is fucking stupid. But I mean, at least he gets to stand up in 6 frames after 12 episodes, so that's great. Like, just compare these animations. I mean,
俺とウェールズのつながりを知ってる？いや、そんなはずはねえ。フローキに話したことはねえ。
come on, the entirety of the second opening is just reused animation. It's anime of the year, people. Definitely anime of the year. So that's kind of a lot of shitting. Let's do a little some unshitting. Let's do what the anime actually did right, okay? So the backgrounds, I already mentioned them, but I'll mention them again. They're absolutely beautiful. They're one of the best parts of Vinland Saga in its entirety. The situations. I really like the situation the shows come up with. Askeladd is one of my favorite characters because he thinks of the strategies, and because of his strategies, certain scenarios take place. Not many shows manage to make a silent war between two bands like that flows, and then makes the spectator feel like he's in with the other characters. And you know, this one is not just realistic, but it's also fun to watch. It's entertaining, yeah. Nobody cares about Thorfinn screaming for 12 out of 22 minutes of one episode. What people care about is Thorfinn growing up in the situation he's in. The show can be creative in the writing, not in the execution as much. The pacing is also great. There's nothing that feels too long, there's nothing that feels too short. It always keeps moving forward. And yes, there's a couple of episodes that kinda suck, that aren't as good to the story and don't report much, but there are some other episodes that are very, very great. Every scene is crafted in a way that can be heartfelt by whoever's watching it, and that's great. Not many anime get to do that. At the same time, those emotions are pretty fake. They wear off after like 5 minutes, but it's more than some other animes have gotten, so at least that's done there, okay? I really liked, for example, the last episode was pretty good. Like, shit went down in the last episode, and that was pretty cool. And finally, the reason why I had to re-record this segment was because I didn't speak about the lips. Now, for whatever reason, The lips in this show look really fucking good. That's it. That's all that's important. The lips are the best part of the show. Almost as good as the backgrounds, but not quite. Overall, it's a great show. I kinda shat on it a lot, but it's not really that bad. So, let's go to the verdict, shall we? So, is this anime of the year? No, it's not. Even if it would have kept the animation that it kept at the beginning. But this character development, it's an 8 at best or a 7. That's what I'm gonna give it in my anime list. This does not compare to Kimetsu no Yaiba and Mob Psycho with their arcs on animation. I mean, Dr. Stone did very defined concept and world building, and like even Iruman-kun managed to make me have a lot more fun while watching it. And then there's Beastars, which I'm gonna leave this episode here and thank you for watching. But what's my next review gonna be? Oh, you're gonna know it. It's gotta be Beastars. We need to talk about it. It's great.